afternoon, everybody. I'm Mark Sebastian. I'm your only option. Good morning to my friends in Asia and Australia. I hope everybody's doing great. It's already tomorrow there. Earnings are out for Apple and Amazon. We've got a lot to unpack here. So, what I'm going to do today, we're going to talk about what I was looking for out of Apple and Amazon. How I'm using a couple of charts to analyze what's happening with Meta, Microsoft, and Google. And, what we're going to talk about how the Microsoft earnings and Meta earnings play out against the earnings from Amazon and Apple so far. All right. And I'll even share a couple of targets for SPY. Well, I think we got a hint that the market was going to sell off at the end of the day, right around 350. The market at 349, the market was trading 56.40. It touched 56, as high as 56.42. And then it was just straight down. We actually fell 40 points in 10 minutes. And why would we get that selling? Well, Apple is currently down $5. Call that 2%. Right now, we're going to look at something very important. I'm going to cut this for you so you can kind of see it easier. So you can read it easier. All right, perfect. So they were pricing in about .2% move. Median is about 4.2 as well, so perfectly in line. Apple's been underperforming for the last year. And currently down 2%. That would be an underperformance as well. So, then we've got Amazon. Amazon is currently down $6.50 from the close. We were up $6 during the day. So Amazon will have done absolutely nothing. I was long July Amazon calls until this morning. And yeah, so Amazon not doing a lot. But what they did do was give a little bit of weak guidance, which people didn't like. So they actually beat on top and bottom. But then they guided lower on their cloud revenue. All right, and so Apple the service division fell light of estimates. EPS 165 versus 163, almost dead on. Revenue about even. They're still selling $6.4 billion worth of iPads. Wearables, home, and accessories revenue, $7.5 billion. That missed. Wearables are not where Apple should be concentrating. Services revenue missed. Gross margin, big miss. So you're seeing Apple pull back. and Amazon. Now, one stock I really like that I own is Reddit. They're pricing a 13% move. It's moving almost 20%. So we're getting a nice move out of Reddit. But Apple and Amazon are disappointing. Now, how does that merge with what's going on in Microsoft and Meta? So they both reported great earnings. So let's take a look at the size of these companies. There we go. So we have Apple that reported, and it's down. It's about the same value of the S&P as Microsoft. Microsoft had a big day, and Apple's having a soft day. So the two kind of cancel each other out. Then you have Meta and Amazon. Meta big, Amazon down. All told, I mean, Amazon net is down $1.98 today. Woo. But then Meta is up 3%. So we've got the losers, you know, your Amazons of the world, down small. And your winners up big. No, we don't get word, G-Man. So you've got this kind of mishmash of really good earnings and then bad earnings that are not getting torched. And the fact that Apple, the fact that Apple missed and missed on a couple things and is only down 2% shows you, I believe, how sentiment has changed in markets. I want you to think about what Apple would have done if they reported 2 weeks ago. How bad would have Apple been? Chip says earnings whisper says Amazon surprise. Amazon guided lower. They had great earnings, but then gave a not great forecast. AWS missed. Advertising was great. So they didn't like the cloud. There were definitely some things not to like. Nice. That's not. So Apple, Amazon, down small. Microsoft gets rewarded big. What does this mean for how does this affect our narrative? All right. Well, I'm going to talk to you about the S&P. I think we're at a spot where we start taking a breather. Look at SPY, had a really, got over the 50 and then came right back to it. So my guess, we've now had up days for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days in a row. I'm here to tell you the 9th will not be it. I believe we'll be down a little bit tomorrow in SPY. IWM might be a little different story. Russell 2000 doesn't have some of the same issue. It's some of the same weighting stuff as the S&P. But I think we're going to use these subpar earnings as kind of a breathing spot. So tomorrow we're below the 50-day, then we're back above it, so on and so on. Apple may continue to melt a little bit. I want to see, obviously, they're going to do an interview with Mr. Cook. We'll see what he has to say. I think that's going to move things. All right. So we've seen the Apple earnings and the Amazon earnings. What now? Well, I want to show you what happened with Google and why I'm getting very close to trading Google. See, Google post earnings fell from this red line, very important to me, represents option prices. And post earnings, I want to see option prices dive and then continue to go lower. For a name like Google, if you look at how it moves, here's the last quarter, right? Boom, and then down, right? So I'm looking for option prices to get down to like 26. So with Apple, you can see it's it's still really elevated over where its earnings were in January. So what we're looking for is a drop down to like 23 in option prices. So what I want to do is I let these earnings come out. This is why, folks, I generally don't trade earnings themselves. And the reason being, they're a complete crapshoot. You're flipping a coin. I like to trade into earnings. I like to trade out of earnings. And part of the reason is I like the predictability. Prior to earnings, I know that premiums are going to stay pretty firm. And I can use the options for that earnings week as kind of an anchor to kind of do everything I want. And then post earnings, we get the big smash. Then we wait a couple more days to get down here. This is Microsoft. And now option prices are not, and I mean not, going to get cheaper. We get to like 21. I'm going to back up the truck on calls with the VIX at about 24, 100% of the time. But once it gets down this cheap and option prices can't really fall anymore, I'm going to use, now I know my options are really cheap and I can just go out and buy them. Now, what direction am I looking at? This is where order flow comes in. A name like Google, I'm looking to see a clear bias. And Thursday, we did see a clear bias. Now, I wanted to get these last Amazon and Apple earnings out of the way. But once things clear out and all that earnings premium comes out of Google, and Meta and Microsoft, once all those earnings come out and they sufficiently drop premiums, so I'm talking probably next Tuesday and Wednesday, Now I'm ready to put on a trade. Because option prices get cheap. And we've got all the news out of the way. So now the stock is going to basically move how the order flow, the earnings tell it to. The large block paper, if you will. All right. Now, there's one more chart we're going to be keeping an eye on. And I think I must have accidentally deleted it. That chart is average true range. How much are these moving? Now I want vol to come in and movement to stay higher. So I want to be looking at Microsoft. Now I expect the movement after the big $30 move here to pull back. But I want to see this movement stay elevated while the options get junked. Why is that beneficial to me if there's a lot of movement and option prices are cheap? Exactly, Vicky. Why do I want to continue to see movement? That means those options are gonna pay off. You get a lot of movement and options are cheap, you're gonna make money over time. And earnings is one of the best times to do that. Now I did a post. I'm doing 5 post earnings trades using options starting next Wednesday. If you'd like to join me, you can click the link in chat. Or you can join the masterclass, and that session is included. All right. So we've got movement staying high, option prices cheap, and we want to see how it performed relative to what the market was thinking. All right, with Meta and with stocks getting rewarded big for winning and only losing small when they miss, what does that tell me about the overall environment? You know, stocks move less on the sell-off and more on a rally. What does that tell you, folks, when you're trading? The market overall is bullish. Right. Good job, Daniel. And AZ Tech and Susan F. Bullish. Absolutely. So the market is still in bull territory, but I think we take a breather tomorrow and then start back up Monday. I will tell you what I did, and I told everybody in Delta Strike today that I did this. And I think I said in Trading Desk. You know, on April 7th, I told you I was buying. And I did. All right. April 7th, April 8th, I picked up a lot of in-the-money calls. When the market was up 80 today and SPY was over 564, guess what I did? I took my ball and I went home. The easy upside play is over. So that's where we are. For the market, I think the easy part of the rally is over eventually. I think we'll crawl our way back to 580 in SPY. SPX, I'm looking for like 5,800-ish. But it may take a while. So tomorrow, I expect us to open down. Pre-market, post-market. Futures are down about 10. Not a massive move, but we already sold off. So like Thursday did most of Friday's work. Thursday did most of Friday's work. All right, so my upside target for SPY, 580. Now, what if Apple gets on its call and really trashes the economy? Same thing with Amazon, currently down 8. Well, we're going to go lower. I think on some real selling, SPY could get back to 5, like 530, 535, 535 and a half. Upside, we're looking for 580 eventually. Next stop, 573. All right. So what am I going to be doing tomorrow? Well, Apple options expire tomorrow. So if you own puts in Apple, how many people here had puts in Apple or calls in Apple? I know many of my traders had puts in Apple. I was very, very wary of these earnings. Z-Man has a 210 put. Daniel does not. Brinkman has a put. Lost of Space has a put. Z-Man says I have a 210 put. All right. When should you close? Yeah, James has a put fly. When should you close? PNAB says at the open. BK says at the open. I'm going to buy a 205 call at 203, Z-Man says. All right. Azar. Yeah, you want to close basically on the open. Now, why do you think that is? Yeah, why do you think that is? What are two things that are happening? What are the two things that's going to happen to my Apple stock chart tomorrow? Yeah, they're going to crush IV. And actually, a lot of times for Apple, if you look at its like last earnings, it'll move. It'll reverse itself. So on February 31st, Apple opened up here, 247, and closed down at 232. A lot of times you'll get a reversal. And you don't really want to deal with that either, do you? All right, so what are we watching for now? Earnings are out. On the conference call, we want to hear what they're saying about the U.S. economy, about the consumer, and about tariffs. All right, people care about that thing. And what Apple says and Amazon say on those three subjects are going to kind of determine where we go in SPY. Because basically almost all the important earnings are now done. Broadcom is done. Tesla, Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, and JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs are already out. We've got tomorrow we should have XOM and CVX, the biggest oil producers. So by the time we open tomorrow, just about every stock I care about that is reporting in the next few weeks will have reported. The only one I'll be waiting on is NVIDIA, which doesn't report till the 28th. All the other ones are done. So yeah, I predict dip buyers are back, but we do get a dip tomorrow into the weekend. All right. And again, I intend to close my Apple plays tomorrow. Plus, yeah, we have non-farm payrolls in the morning as well. We got a lot to unpack. So just, and I'll close on this just to kind of prep you for what SPX was looking for tomorrow. We're pricing at about a $70 move. $73 move, and that is probably too cheap. We have a $7 move, and that is too cheap. All right, folks, one more time I want to tell you, join my special situation. We had a great meeting with everybody today. We're going to be trading 5 post-earnings plays. Here's a hint. One of them's Apple. And my goal is to do 100% on each one. And I want you to join me. And to do that, you can join my masterclass, or you can call my team 888-872-3301, or Justin will drop a link for you to join me. But right now, I would say the best method is to join the masterclass or give my team a call, 888-872-3301. All right, any questions for me? Yeah, call us 888-872-3301. Any questions for me? I've been seeing you guys a lot. What is your question, G-Man? Earnings whispers. We don't hear any whispers really as market makers. I'm guessing the guys in the New York Stock Exchange maybe get some info. Yes. AZ Tech says, you've been giving us all sorts of extras. Thank you so much. When we're in a trying time, the reason why Option Pit is here is for you. That is why we started this company. We want to be there for you. Yes. Well, yes. So, no, I never got any earnings whispers or anything like that ahead of time. I'm guessing some of the guys in the New York Stock Exchange do. Any stock that breaks post-market highs or lows after earnings will open below or above the break. Do you agree? Not any stock, but I do think that happens relatively often. Does that make sense? I would remove some of the certainty in that statement. Does that make sense, Z-Man? But yes. I saw a glimpse of your scanner. Yes, we're working on this right now. This beast is coming out next month. Just you wait. Yes. It's custom built. Do I think JP Morgan sells down? Yeah, here's your look. You ready? All right. Do I think JP Morgan sells off anymore? I mean, JP Morgan had just an absolutely crazy last 6 months. Here's the election. Ran up to over almost 300. Pulls back down to 240. I think it's basically an equilibrium right here. You might get a little bit of selling. But that's it. No, they are not. Absolutely not. I custom built this myself with a programmer. And we're still working on it. Where do I think Meta ends the day tomorrow? Yeah, I'm going to borrow something from some other rando service. I don't think so. I think it's eventually getting back to 600. How about that, Z-Man? I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, but I think it's eventually going to 600. All right. Any other questions for me? All right, folks. Give my team a call, 888-872-3301, or click the link above. Well, good luck, Z-Man. All right, everybody. Once again, I'm looking for Apple to be down. I'm going to be looking to take my profits very early, and then some decisions will be made. I am Mark Sebastian. I am. What am I, guys? Mark's a nice guy. All right. AZ Tech says our only option. Lost of space. Our only option. Mark says nuts. Yes, Shane, I am your only option. And I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful evening. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow. All right. Have a great day, everybody.